Okay, hello there, this is the Real Guardian, and this is the first recording while I'm gone to vacation, and the dates should be the 2nd, 6th, 10th, and 14th when a video will come out while I'm gone. So I hope you guys will enjoy this. Live Deku had a blood quirk. Sorry, I'm still sick, so I have a bit of phlegm in my throat. Was actually the first script I ever wrote, so I hope you guys will enjoy this. I rewrote it just so I could do this video. And like, comment, subscribe, and maybe become a Patreon because my birthday's coming up during all this. I'll tell you when it hits. We start out with Izuku. Him and Kachan was playing in the woods. They were trying to catch bugs. But thanks to all the running around they were doing, they got really tired really quickly. So they decided to take a break. They found a nice clearing in the trees, and they started talking about types of quirks they'd seen and other things related to it, so it's there at the age for them to finally have their own. They both hope to get the best quirks they can, but they're still wondering what they will get. But being completely absorbed in their conversation, ignoring everything around them, they failed to realize that a big bear was walking up behind them, and it slowly made its way up to Izuku and Katsuki. Katsuki not seeing this, so Izuku was trying to get a hold of his attention, noticing it. But since he was in some form of fear, he was stirring too much. Katsuki finally asked, "What's wrong, Izuku?" But before he could finish saying something else, Izuku instantly pushed Katsuki out of the way. The bear then swiped Izuku's arm, causing it to bleed profusely. The bear swiped at Izuku again, this time sending Izuku flying back, making him slam into a nearby tree. As Izuku slumps down in front of the tree, he was looking up in seeing a pretty blurred vision, and was even in a dazed state to see that Katsuki was paralyzed with fear, since this was before he had gotten his quirk, so he acted more like a kid. Izuku started to scream at himself in his own head that he had to get up and move. He had to protect Katsuki or they're both going to die. As this was happening, a female voice rang out, saying, "Do you desire power?" As Izuku just told the voice, "No. I just want power to help people." The voice saying, "I see then. I shall give you power." As when Deku opened one of his eyes more widely, it started to glow a blood red. All of a sudden, the blood that was dripping and oozing out of his arms started to form into what looked like rose petals. As he saw the bear was about to strike Katsuki, he screamed out in his broken voice, "No." But as he reached out with his hands, the petals that formed around his wound turned into a blazing storm of petals that surrounded the bear as it roared aloud like it was in deep pain for a full minute. Following going completely silent, Izuku subconsciously stopped the petals to leave only a completely cut up skeleton left as it dropped into pieces. He tried to sit up more, but was exhausted, so he collapsed back down. As this was all happening, two trail hikers came running out of a nearby bush, hearing a commotion. Seeing the bear skeletons in pieces, they tried to see Katsuki. They run up to him and ask if he's alright. He finally shaking out of the state, saying he was fine, but his friend got badly hurt. Hikers turn around to see Izuku, with the massive gash that's still very visible on his arm. They quickly grab one of their bags as they pull out a first aid kit from it. They disinfect his wound, cleaning it and wrapping it. They ask if the two boys need help getting out of the woods. Katsuki in his pride, saying no. But Izuku was so wobbly they realized that they had to do it anyways. So they picked up Izuku and started walking the boys out. After that, Katsuki called the police and their parents. Izuku is starting to pass out from the pain just alone. His mom Inko comes running up to him, grabbing him, giving him a hug as he's saying, "I got my quirk," as he smiles, but he soon passes out from blood loss and pain. Next thing Izuku knows, he wakes up in the hospital. As he And when he does this, he sees Katsuki sleeping in a chair. He calls out Ka-chan, and Katsuki's eyes shot open. He ran and tackled Izuku, giving him a hug, saying he's so sorry they froze up like that. And that they were told by the doctors in the hospital it might take a week for him to wake up, but it's only been about 3 days. Since it was from your sudden awakening of your quirk and the blood loss. As Katsuki was wrapping up what he was saying, both of their moms walked in, with Inko in tears, grabbing a hold of him, crying like there was no tomorrow, with Inko apologizing over and over again to him. He told her he was okay, as the doctor had just came in right after all that. They, with some nurses, they started to check his vitals and ran a small test. The doctor then said, "It seems from what your friend has told us, you awakened your quirk. And it's pretty obvious, as the doctor actually showed a picture to Izuku. As Izuku saw, it was the bear skeleton, and the doctor saying, after all, you left that bear in his skeleton as pieces. So once you get better, we are going to run a quirk test on you." Doctor then telling everyone it's time to leave and let Izuku get some more rest, because even though he's awake, he still desperately needs it. But before they go, Katsuki saying, "I'm going to get my quirk next, and it's going to be cooler than yours will ever be." As Katsuki's mom just slaps him in the back of the head, telling him to be quiet and be more mindful of his surroundings. But Izuku laughed and smiled, saying back, "Cool, I can't wait to see yours." As Izuku was waving goodbye to them and they left the room, he started to nod off back to sleep. But before he fell completely asleep, he was thinking how cool it was to finally have his quirk. He can finally be a hero and be what he wants to be. So a week has gone by, and today is the quirk test. But before they discharge Izuku, telling him to try to remember what had happened before. He then thought about it very heavily, as he explained it had to do with his blood. And after they tested everything, they started to talk about his quirk with Inko. They're telling her, Izuku has developed a rare quirk not related to either parents, but has taken some of the properties of at least you from so far, I've realized, Miss Miss Midori, sorry. Inko then asked, "What is it?" As the doctor's saying, it is a quirk that uses Izuku's blood to make rose petals. These petals are sharp enough to cut through diamonds. He can also use his roses as well, ironically enough. But it's not as strong. Its power is cut in half. Now, what he can do with this, as the doctor sat up, making sure that he would explain it in the best possible way and in more detail. He can control these petals using your telekinesis ability. It's a much stronger variant of what you have. He can make them into a storm, a raging storm, as a matter of fact. But they have a very unique effect. It can actually heal him. And it depends on what type he uses, what it can do. If he uses roses, particularly, spells can heal by surrounding the user or ally in a huge group. While blood petals, when he uses to heal someone, can be either applied directly at a person's injury or where the person is most injured. So in short, Mrs. Midori, to explain it in more understandable terms, it can be used as an AoE heal or a direct heal. This quirk can also increase the speed and strength of its user. From what I theorize, it could allow up to a 20 times multiplier based on this. Now, it seems to do with how much he's going to train his body and his stamina. Ingo's saying this is all great, but what are its drawbacks? As the doctor then explains, to be honest, its weaknesses are pretty obvious. The first one being is if he uses too much blood, unlike some other blood quirks I've done, he will die of blood loss. Sadly. It also drains his physical body and stamina way too much right now. So he really needs to get stronger. And finally, when he uses roses, they wilt, getting less and less powerful until they're basically useless. After timing everything, it took about 5 minutes for a rose he used to finally and fully wilt. Then the doctor cleared his throat, because I also need to do it. my apologies, saying, so we let the name be what Izuku suggested, because we came up with various names, Rose Petal, Bloody Petal, Rose Bloody Bloody Petals, as he laughed at that one, but your son said he wanted to name it Blood Rose Glaive. Honestly, it's a good name for someone his age, so I think it's perfect for him. So now that we've done all this, you know what it does and its weaknesses. You can help Izuku start preparing for it, especially since he told me he wants to be a hero. And he's going to need to seriously train this if he wants to use it properly. With that, Izuku was discharged later that day. When he got home, Katsuki and his mom had set up a surprise party for him. While at the party, Katsuki showed off his quirk to Izuku. He had the same explosion quirk from Canon, saying, see, I told you I'd get a cooler one than yours. He then sticking out his tongue to Izuku, but his mom was nearby and slapped the back of his head, telling him to stop it. After all, Izuku just got out of the hospital and you're teasing him. She gave him a death glare. And with that, more time had passed, as we cut to Katsuki and Deku just having fun and we're playing. But also Inko and Misuki, sorry, I think that's how I pronounce her name, we're having a conversation. Inko telling Misuki, I'm just going to Katsuki's mom right now, that she's worried about his quirk. One day kill him. After all, it uses his blood, and it cannot be healthy, especially a child at his age. It's Misuki reassured Inko it's his quirk, and as long as you let him use it responsibly, he'll be alright, like every other quirk. She was thinking, and then saying out loud, wait, I think I know someone that could help you. As Inko's eyes lit up, who do you think can? As she then responded with, his name is the Blood Hero Vlad King. To be honest, he's an old friend and owes me a favor, so he'll help out, especially if I tell him about the blood quirk he has. This causes Inko to cry with tears of joy. If that hero can teach Izuku to be responsible with his quirk and power, she doesn't have too much to worry about now. As she finally responded to her saying, I would like that very much, with a smile. Katsuki's mom saying, alright, I'll call him as soon as we get home. We'll probably be here first thing in the morning. As it's the next day, and Izuku got off school since he's still recovering from everything. As they get a knock at the door, Inko answering it as it's the man in the thumbnail with the white hair and goggles, but he's younger in his early 20s. Appearing before saying his name is Vlad King. And he was told by Misuki that your son had a blood quirk. After all, I have taken in someone who has a blood quirk as well in the past. After hearing this, Inko breathed a sigh of relief. Yes, he does. I will go get him. She goes to get Izuku, telling him to come with her. As Izuku gets to the door, he freaks out, saying, You're Vlad King, the blood hero. Your quirk is blood control, right? It allows you to use your blood after it leaves your body, and you can even solidify it to come after people. This king actually bent down to the small Izuku, saying, Hey, I'm impressed with you. That you knew who I was and my quirk. So are you a fan of mine? Izuku responded, Yep, with all heroes. I've been studying them since I've been wanting to be one. Vlad smiled, saying, Well, that's pretty smart. I'd also like to see your quirk. Plus, I brought my daughter with me. Would you like to meet her? Izuku said, Sure. I'd love to show you my quirk and meet your daughter. As Vlad thanked Inko, saying they'll be right back after he assesses Izuku's power. As they walk out to see a young girl Izuku's age, the blonde girl right here, on the thumbnail, as he's saying, This is Toga. As she jumps up, saying, Hey there. She reaches out her hand, and Izuku shakes it. As Vlad saying, She's also your opponent. Let's go to that nearby park we saw, okay? As they all nodded their heads. As they got there, Izuku asked, So what's your quirk, Toga? And she said, It's Bloody Oni. I can control my blood like my dad, but I also have super enhanced strength and speed. Plus, I can make an Oni form out of blood since I got my Oni powers from my mom. But I would really want to see yours in action, Izuku. As she smiled, making Izuku blush a bit. As he said, Oh, trust me, you'll see what I can do. As they got to a secluded area of the park, as Vlad said, "Okay, are you ready?" As they both nodded their head, as Vlad threw his hand up and down, saying, "Begin." Toga quickly dashed forward as she slammed her fist on the ground in front of Izuku, cracking it. As he then takes out a small knife from his pocket, cutting his arm, his blood dripped down, turning into rose petals, as he set a storm at Toga. She quickly dodged him out of the way, and as she was moving, her and also Vlad saw the ground was where she was standing on was diced into pieces. Vlad thought this was amazing, and this made Toga smile because in her head she said, "A real challenge." And so then she cut her own arm and then pounced at Izuku as she spinned into him, slamming him with her hand, pinning him to the ground, as she formed a blood prison like her dad would around Izuku. Now Izuku tried to use his petals, but they're not cutting through, as he heard the voice again saying, "Do you need more power?" Izuku said, "Just enough to prove my worth." As the voice responded with, "Then here's some more of our power." As one of Deku's eyes turned glowing blood red again, as the petals completely shredded the blood prison he had put him in. As this shocked both Toga and Vlad, as they realized something's going on with Izuku. Vlad, being more perceptive, realized one of his eyes had changed color. He was thinking, does this mean he's tapping in further into his quirk? Or is this at the beginning and just wasn't as visible? And now Izuku, once he had gotten out, as he heard the voice ask him again, saying, "Do you wish to increase your speed and strength?" As Izuku said yes, as the words ×2 was heard in his head. As Toga, knowing that Izuku was free, decided to start dashing at him. But Izuku disappeared right before her, which shocked her. But then, all of a sudden, he reappeared right behind her. He set a storm of petals at her, cutting her up, making a lot of her blood drip out and ooze from her. As then he sent her back, as he blitzed her, quickly punching her up into the air with quick jabs. And as she was coming down, he used his strength with his ×2 multiplier and slamming her to the ground. Izuku jumped back, but Toga started to act strange and was stuttering a bunch of words as her movements got erratic. And she finally spoke in broken words to Izuku saying, "Run, I'm losing control." As her face turned into this complete blood rage, her eyes turned black. The blood that had been dripping off of her finally started forming around her. It was as if she was going out of control, Izuku thought. Vlad, realizing what was going on, tried to stop her with his blood control quirk. But Toga started having the blood surround her even faster than Vlad could control it. As the horns on her head that had become visible since she had hidden them with her hair, as she then turns into a massive looking Oni made of blood. As Vlad was trying to run in, but Izuku actually held up his hand to stop him, saying, "She's out of control, right?" Vlad nodded. Izuku's then saying, "Then let me show you what I can do at my full strength." As Izuku steeled himself, as his one red eye glowed even brighter, sending a storm of the petals he made of his blood at Toga, as it cuts through the blood Oni form, making it shrink just a little. But as it did this, it got angry and roared. As it roared, blasting it all away. As it charged at Izuku even faster than it was before, as the voice said ×3. As Izuku himself got even faster than it. As when it had finally gotten to him and was about to slam its fist in the ground, Izuku once again disappeared from the punch. And as it hit the ground, it was destroyed. Toga started to swing around wildly around her. She had no rhyme or reason. She had no control right now. And Izuku watched patiently, carefully, and when he saw he had one opening and one chance, he quickly built his speed and power, going as far as a ×5 multiplier. Going forward, he kicked her up into the air, using a flurry of punches left and right, with the final one sending her so far up that he jumps up and smacks her, sending her further back into the park. She lands into a rose field that was nearby. As Izuku appears before her, as Vlad was running and had just gotten to where Izuku was and Toga had landed. Izuku tapping into his blood, and all the roses around them turned them into petals, sending them flying at Toga as he finally cut and diced her blood oni form into nothing as she just landed on the ground. As she got out of her rage state, realizing what was going on, looking around, knowing what she had done just right now, she was now sitting on the ground, crying her eyes out. Vlad was going up to him as he got near Izuku and then finally telling Izuku, "Yeah, I'm going to have to train you. That was insane. That was very powerful and strong, but you need to be more careful." As he knows Izuku was a bit woozy from doing this. As he said, "But I need to..." And Izuku stopped Vlad, saying, "Let me. I think it's best if I do it instead." As Izuku walked up to the crying Toga, as he grabbed her hands that were rubbing her eyes, as he made her stop, as he asked, "Are you alright?" She's saying, "Of course I am, but you'll hate me too, right? And fear me? Like everyone else does?" As Izuku bent down while holding her hand, saying, "Why do you think that?" As Toga said, "Because last time I lost control of my Oni side, I hurt many people. So they started to hate me. They don't even talk to me. They call me a monster. That's why I hid my horns too. I really just want to make like 100 friends, Izuku." As Izuku let go of one of her hands, smiling, wiping her hair, making sure her horns were even more visible than they were before. As she responded with, "First, I don't hate you. I'm actually happy you're alright. I was completely worried when you lost control. Second, those horns of yours are beautiful. Third, you're no monster. You're a princess, like all beautiful girls. Fourth, even if everyone in this world ends up hating you, I will never hate you." As he sighed, then saying, "Finally, I think I should take responsibility for this. By making you so upset, making you go out of control, and causing you to cry. So I make a promise right here now. I will help you make 100 friends. And I vow until that mission is accomplished." As he actually kisses her hand and looking in her eyes, making sure she's at full attention, saying, "I'm completely yours until you don't need me anymore. The beautiful Princess Toga." As he smiles at her, which causes Toga to get so bright red that she just mentally and physically passes out from it. With Vlad then giving Izuku the look of death, as if he touches his daughter again, and even romances her, they will not find the body. As Izuku's sweating bullets, getting up saying he's sorry so much. He just wanted to make her happy. Vlad just sighed, saying, "Okay. Starting next week, you'll meet us at our house. I'll give you the address and how to get there, okay, Izuku?" As Izuku nodded his head, and Vlad was taking him home. And after they explained what had happened and why he had to take Izuku in as a student, Iko was trying both tears of joy and was very happy that they were both alright. As they were leaving, Toga had already gotten up again and decided to run up to Izuku, kissing him on the cheek, causing him to blush pretty hard. This made Inko grin a bit. After they left, Inko said jokingly, "So is that my future daughter-in-law?" Izuku saying, "It could be if I can't help her get 100 friends. I might have to marry her to make up for unable to keep the promise." Which shocked Inko that Izuku was actually admitting this. She asked, "So what's the promise?" He then responded, "I promise that I'm hers until she doesn't need me anymore." As he smiles, thus making Inko happy. Even though he probably shouldn't have said that, especially to a girl like her, it was basically clearly him saying he wants to help her so much right now. As it's later at the night at Vlad's home, as Toga was thinking back to Izuku's words, it said as she was thinking, it made her so happy, now knowing that she had someone other than her parents in this world that was going to help her. She was also going to a new school and found out it was also Izuku's school, just by complete coincidence, and she was so happy about it. So she decided to dig out a notebook, and she titled it, "My Guide with Izuku to Make 100 Friends." And she held it pretty close to her chest, smiling, and decided to go to sleep. Sorry. But at Izuku's house, he was still wondering why he keeps hearing a voice. What does it want? Why does it want to make me stronger each time I hear it? And without it, I'm pretty weak right now. As he drifted away to sleep, awakening to seeing a black void and a cloaked woman all in bright red, just standing there. She finally speaks, saying, "So, Master, you wonder who I am?" As Izuku stood up in the void, nodding his head, as the woman said, "I am known as Reaper, and my purpose is to make sure we survive. So when you ask for power or need power, I will give it to you. And at worst, if I have to, I will take you over to make sure we live." As Izuku was thinking for a moment, as he put everything together and realized, saying, "So, you're my Quirk, you're sentient, and your name is Reaper. And Reaper's job is to make sure we live through everything." As the cloaked woman nodded her head. As she said also, "Toga is a good rose for us to gain more power." Suzuka just looked at her, baffled and confused, with Reaper pondering at him, finally realizing what was going on. Finally saying, "See that? As in the void, there was a small flower garden." As she pointed to a single yellow rose that was in the field. "You made someone see you in their very heart and soul," she said. Then she continued, "Since you made Toga see you as a friend, right now that has caused that a yellow rose to grow. See, different colored roses have different meanings tied to them, specifically to emotions. This is what is called flower language in most cultures. And how she feels about you later on could change that rose's color completely. The more people that you grow close with, like Toga, that you allow to be close to you as well, the more chances to make roses until our garden is filled. It will also allow me to evolve our power to even greater heights. So I believe making that promise to have 100 friends with Toga will help both of us in the longer run." As this shocked Izuku, as he's saying out loud, "So, it will make me stronger and help you one day evolve in power." She nodded her head. Izuku realized he was starting to disappear. Reaper said, "It seems you are waking up, my master. But before you go," as she bends down, kissing his forehead, saying, "That is for good luck. You'll need it, my master, especially when it comes to women." As he wakes up, seeing that his eye was red, that blood red again for a moment, but quickly disappeared. But since he has school today and has no time to worry about it, he decides to get dressed and leaves, realizing he needs to ask Reaper about it later. When he finally gets to school, he sees everyone is ganged up on him, asking to see his quirk, which he does show it off, explaining it, the blood part, but says he'd rather just show off the rose part since it's too dangerous for him to cut himself, even though he admits he can heal it very quickly. As when he shows off at least the red rose part, everyone think it's so cool, but the girls especially think it's a beautiful quirk, as they say, "It means you're a rose with many thorns." Suzuki thanks them for the compliment and blushes a bit. With the teacher coming in and announcing, "Well, it seems we have a new student joining us." They all get excited, not knowing whether it's a boy or girl. As a young girl walks in, as Izuku looks up to see it's Toga, screaming, "Toga, what are you doing here?" And she waves at him. It's saying, "As you heard from Izuku, my name is Toga. I hope to get along with everyone. My last school, no one really liked me anymore, so I had to leave it." As she smiled very brightly, causing a lot of the boys to blush. Quickly, she became the talk of the class, and she was such a cute girl, and the other girls were a little jealous of her. But they still wanted to be friends with her and get to know her. And she does explain her quirk to him, Bloody Oni, which I think is really cool. But throughout the entire day, when she wasn't talking to others, she was actually clinging to Izuku pretty tightly. So they were talking about the 100 friend plan. During this, we get to recess, as Katsuki, just sitting there full of rage, finally getting up to say something to Toga, While she was talking to others with Izuku, as Katsuki finally blurts out that she's a monster. You know it. I mean, if we let her live, we'll die one day because if she can't control that Oni side, it's gonna kill us. And second, those horns of her make her ugly just as much as she is already. As Izuku got so mad, he just grabbed Katsuki, picking him up, sending a cloud of petals around him by forcing the roses nearby and storming them until him and Katsuki were only staring at each other. When he finally ended it, Katsuki was so terrified, shaking, as Izuku saying, "We are no longer friends, and if you ever get near her again, I will kill you," with complete venom in his voice. As this caused Katsuki to cry as he ran away, which caused the whole class to feel really sorry for Katsuki. So one of the girls walked up to Izuku, tapping on his shoulder, then saying, "You're only Katsuki's real friend here. She barely talks to anyone else and acknowledges them. And I know what he said was wrong, but don't take it out on him. Okay?" After this, Izuku calms down. But when going back to class, he sees that Katsuki is not there. Teacher asking, "Where is Katsuki?" And Izuku realized what had happened. He says, "I know where he is." As he ran out, saying, "That idiot." He started running out of school as he goes to a nearby park near him, where they always played together. And they made a promise to be friends forever there. As he realized that's why he went there. As he runs into it, seeing Katsuki was in trouble with this tall man was holding him by the throat. As the man finally just saying, "Well, it's time for you to die, little kid, for your arrogance." As Izuku said in his head, "Reaper, power, now." She said, "Understood," as one of Izuku's eyes turned blood red again. As he slit his hand with his pocket knife. As he quickly turned the blood into petals as he made a literal tornado of them. As they completely diced the man up. As he was severely injured. As he dropped to the ground. As he also dropped Katsuki to the ground. As the man was completely knocked out. Izuku running up to Katsuki to see all the clothes he was wearing was in tatters. As he was naked and was really worried. But then he stopped himself as he looked over. He saw something that didn't make sense to him. Izuku asking, "Why are you wearing panties?" As then Katsuki got really, really red and embarrassed. And Izuku thinking about it, finally put it together. "Wait, you've been a girl this whole time?" As he screams that out. With this, the first script I ever wrote has been finished and rewritten. I hope you guys have a wonderful day. This is the Real Guardian signing off.